Today we're going to be making 3 different speedy meals that should take about 20 minutes or less to make. If you're looking to make a quick lunch or dinner, hopefully we've got you covered in today's video. Just want to give you the heads up that in order for these to be ready in about 20 minutes or less, what we want to do is chop and prepare certain ingredients while other things are cooking away on the stove, but I'm going to walk you through those steps. So if you follow along, everything should go just great. So let's dive right in. For the first recipe, we're making a delicious oyster mushroom curry salad sandwich. So this is a recipe that you can find here in the Netherlands commonly called chickpea, but usually it calls for chicken. Obviously we're not going to use that, so we're instead going to use oyster mushrooms, but we'll come back to this in a minute. First, we're going to mince a clove of garlic, and then we're going to mince half of a shallot, but if you don't have a shallot, feel free to use whatever small onion you've got on hand. Then to a medium pan on medium-high heat, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil along with the garlic and shallot, and we're going to cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes. Then, using our hands, we're going to peel about 2 cups or 150 grams of oyster mushrooms into the pan. We're using oyster mushrooms here because they're really stringy. Once they cook up, they actually give a really nice meaty texture to the dish. So once all the mushrooms have been added into the pan, we're going to add a little sprinkle of salt, and then we can let this cook for about 3 minutes. Then to the pan, we're going to add half of a teaspoon each of ground cumin and ground coriander, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, and a bit of freshly cracked black pepper. And we're going to stir this in and let it cook for another 3 minutes or so. By now, the liquid from the mushrooms should have evaporated and the mushrooms are going to be lightly golden. When it is, we can remove it from the heat and transfer it to a bowl. To the mushroom mixture that's in the bowl, we're going to add in half of a cup of pineapple chunks that we just got from a jar, along with 2 tablespoons of vegan mayo, 2 tablespoons of an unsweetened plant-based yogurt, 1 teaspoon of curry powder, and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Then we're going to give it all a stir until everything is well combined. And all that's left at this point is just to assemble the sandwich. So to a slice of toasted bread, I'm going to add some lettuce and some tomato slices, and then we can add on top of that the mushroom curry mixture. And I'm going to garnish it as well with some sliced green onions. And then that's pretty much it. It might look like a strange combination of flavors with the meaty mushrooms and then the tropical fresh taste of pineapple together with spices like cumin and curry, but everything works so incredibly well together. It's also a really easy recipe if you ever wanted to batch make it and then store it in the fridge, because then if you're in the need of a quick lunch, all you've got to do is just add it to some toasted bread and lunch is ready. For the next recipe, we're going to be making these Za'atar spiced veggie wraps with a mint and garlic yogurt sauce. First up, we're going to chop 1 medium zucchini into little small 1 centimeter cubes, and we're going to do the exact same thing with 1 medium eggplant. And then to a large pan on high heat, we're going to add in about a tablespoon of olive oil, and when it's hot, we can add in a teaspoon of whole cumin seeds. We're going to stir this and let it toast for about 30 seconds before we add in the zucchini and eggplant along with half of a teaspoon of salt. Try to not skip adding the salt at this stage because it really helps to draw the water out of the veggies and that makes it cook faster. So we're going to let this cook for about 3 to 4 minutes, stirring occasionally just to prevent it from burning. And while this cooks, we're going to chop up 1 green bell pepper, also into small little 1 centimeter pieces. And we're also going to drain and rinse a can of cooked brown lentils. Now when you're ready, you can add the green bell pepper to the pan along with the brown lentils. And I'm also going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of Za'atar spice mix. Then we're going to stir this all together. We can drop the heat to medium and then we're going to cover it with a lid. So Za'atar, I'm surprised this is the first time I'm sharing this in a recipe video because I use this at home all the time. It's a classic Middle Eastern spice mix. You might be able to find it at your local grocery store, but in case I don't have it, you can always make it yourself at home, and we have a recipe for this on the blog. So I'll leave a link for you in the description box below. So while the veggies are cooking away, we're gonna whip together a super speedy mint and garlic yogurt sauce. So to a medium bowl, we're gonna add in 1 cup of an unsweetened plant-based yogurt, along with 2 cloves of crushed garlic, 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of thinly sliced fresh mint leaves, along with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then we can stir it all up and then we're gonna set it aside for now. For this recipe, I'm using some pita bread, which I'm actually gonna warm up on the stove. First, I usually like to brush a little bit of water on both sides of the pita and then add it to a skillet that's been preheated on medium-high. And then I let it just sit and toast for a few seconds before I give it a flip and then let it toast on the other side. Now, when ready, we can assemble our pitas. First, we can start by lathering on a generous few spoonfuls of the mint garlic yogurt sauce, Follow that with some lettuce if you've got it, and then we can add on top the sauteed and spiced veggie mixture. Follow that with some diced tomatoes, but if you've got pomegranate seeds at home, this works incredibly well with the dish, so feel free to add that in there. And then finally, we can drizzle over top a generous amount of tahini. If you've got some fresh mint leaves, garnish it with that too. And there you have it. It's a warm, saucy, flavor-packed wrap that's super wholesome. I feel like it's just really fresh and filling, and it works perfectly for either lunch or dinner. Now for the final recipe, we're gonna be making a speedy one-pot tomato and chickpea stew. We're gonna begin by finely chopping 1 large onion. Mine were actually super small, so I'm gonna be using 2 onions here. And then we're going to finely chop 1 medium carrot, as well as 1 roasted bell pepper that I just get from a jar, but you could also use a raw bell pepper here instead. Then to a large pan on high heat, we're gonna add in some vegetable oil, along with the onion, carrot, and bell pepper, and half a teaspoon of salt. We're then gonna give this all a stir and then let it sit and cook for about 5 minutes. So while that's cooking away, we can then thinly slice about 4 cloves of garlic, and I'm gonna mince up 1 chili pepper as well. And then we can add this to the pan too, letting it cook for another couple minutes or so before we add in 2 teaspoons each of ground cumin and smoked paprika powder, but you could also use regular paprika powder, plus a teaspoon of ground coriander. We're then gonna stir the spices in, and we're gonna let it sit and cook and toast for about a minute before we add in 2 400-gram tins of diced tomatoes and about 2 cups worth of cooked chickpeas, half of a cup of olives. Here I'm using green olives, but Kalamata works great here too. Plus we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of tahini and 2 teaspoons of sodium reduced soy sauce. Then give this all a stir, mixing it until it's nice and creamy, and then we're gonna drop the heat to medium, partially cover it with a lid, and then let this cook for about 5 minutes so that the flavors all meld and come together. While that's cooking away, we can finely chop a couple handfuls of spinach, and when ready, we can add this to the pan along with some freshly cracked black pepper. And then once the spinach is stirred in, it's only gonna take a minute or so for it to soften, and when it has, we can remove the pan from the heat. All that's left at this point is to garnish the dish and to serve it up generously into some bowls. Now, I personally highly recommend topping it with some fresh basil leaves if you've got it, and some freshly squeezed lemon on top. Really brings all the flavors of this dish together. But to keep this recipe quick and simple, I'm actually just gonna serve it alongside some toasted bread just to scoop up that chunky stew with, but you could also serve it alongside some cooked rice if you'd like. Hopefully you've got some ideas of new different quick, speedy lunch and dinners that you can try. If you're looking for the full breakdown to any of the recipes, as always, it's on the blog. Those links are in the description box below, and if you did enjoy today's video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. It always helps to support the channel when you do. Thanks a lot for watching. Pickup Limes signing off. We'll see you in the next video. Yeah, once you cook it, it actually kind of becomes really nice and like a plant-based meaty